the main, more units pinned to defend against Banshee. And meanwhile, there's a giant ass attack at the front door. Oh, and Goody. Oh, he's sieging up bunkers. He's just going to try to pick off this natural expansion.
And Storm is nearly done, but at the moment, I don't know why he moved out at that point. I mean, he saw the army of... No, he didn't. I thought he saw the siege tanks, but right now he has a serious problem at his expansion. But the Templars are ready, feedbacking immediately both Banshees.
They're still alive.
With 2 hit points.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and he's immediately starting to repair those Banshees. And in the meantime, the expansion is nearly ready in the main base of Goody, attacking the expansion of White Ra right now. And Storm has actually finished, and he built a Warp Prism once again. Kajarian Amulet being researched right now.
Those look like a ton more gateways down as well. A lot of Zealots loaded up into that Warp Prism, so maybe he can pick off that tank. But no, it looks like Marines at the backside picking off the Stalkers. He can probably throw down a Storm as long as he just hits the T button.
Just lost all his Stalkers in the back, so that doesn't look good at all for White Ra right now. 87 supply for Goody, the German Terran player, and 85 for White Ra. And right now, once again, warping a couple of units, losing those Stalkers as well. And where the hell are all his High Templars? He's just moving his Warp Prism into the to the expansion of Goody, White Ra, with his Warp Prism, and immediately attacking those SCVs, while as in the meantime those 2 Banshees are dealing lots of damage. 4 and 5 kills, so and he's storming those Banshees. Goody doesn't pay attention and losing both Banshees.
That's a hell of a blunder. We do see a couple more Stalkers popping out, try to pick off that medevac, but it doesn't work too well. Zealot hanging out by the natural, and look at Duckload just chilling with a Warp Prism right in the main. There's more units trying to hang out and defend, but it looks like Duckload's going to be trying to warp in units one at a time. In the meantime, it looks like Duckload is barely able to hold his natural expansion. But look at this, he even has infantry in his main on his high ground. Both players just really aggressive in one another right now.
Yeah, and there are a couple of Marines in the main base of Goody right now. It's just to repel that Warp Prism. And he just lost a lot of mining time. And in the meantime, White Ra is going for a couple of Immortals just to repel those tanks down there.
And wow, look at the money count for White Ra, getting a little distracted up at 1,400 minerals. Goody keeping his money quite low, keeping focused, just gently pushing into this expansion with a couple of Marines and that siege tank, and it's going to get increasingly costly for White Ra to keep this up.
And actually White Ra in a good position to take out a couple of tanks, but one Immortal is just not enough to kill all of them. A nice repair by Goody, and White Ra losing tons of units right now.
Oh gosh, that was just barely enough SCVs to keep that alive. White Ra trying to warp in as much more as he can. Look at this. At the natural expansion, there's a bunch of Templar warping in at the last second. Some Zealots there. Also to do a little bit of damage. White Ra loads back into that Warp Prism. And man, White Ra really showing the power of having that air transport to just put pressure back on the opponent. Doesn't look like Goody has an easy time reinforcing because there's just too many Zealots getting warped in from behind. It looks like Duckload has still managed to find a way to stay alive, adding up to 8 warp gates because he just cannot seem to produce things quickly enough.
He has still tons of minerals right now. 1,600 over minerals at the moment, and on the other hand side we see Goody with 500, still trying to repel that Warp Prism, and the Warp Prism is down to 29 hit points.
But it looks like White Ra's been doing a good job keeping that Terran player battered down long enough. We see the Immortals continuing to try to pop out. Duckload doesn't have any upgrades despite having that Forge, but the cannons that are at the backside really helping a lot.
And Goody is killing the Warp Prism with a Viking.
Oh gosh, and Duckload tries to go for the Storm at the last second, but it looks like Duckload's going to have to wait till those Immortals end up wrapping up in production before he can end up producing an extra Warp Prism. Does he have the Zealot with leg speed? He's getting it right now, and yep,
and he has
Warp Prism.
Tons of income. Goody has tons of income right now, over 2,000 thanks to his mules. We have 6 mules on the field right now, and and White Ra moving out with all those Immortals, and there's no way that Goody actually can still contain the Protoss player. So he's just trying to retreat with those tanks and actually managed to save them.
Man, that was an incredible job by White Ra, who just essentially spent so much time doing this Warp Prism drop harass that Goody had to devote all his units to defending the main base. And then when White Ra finally had enough units, he just waltzes right out the front door and can easily set up a third base in the center, easily set up stronger macro. There's the center expo coming up. We see Goody going for that Blue Flame Hellion play again, trying to get some mech going, but he's going to be in a lot of trouble when he realizes that his backdoor destructible rocks are under fire.
And Wera still has a lot of minerals. I mean, he has 1,100 minerals at the moment. He's got just going for another Nexus on the left-hand side of the map. And as you already said, attacking the Destructive Rocks at the back of the expansion of Goody. And Goody trying to repel that attack with one Benji, which is definitely not enough. Where's the Observer coming in?
Well, it looks like he didn't even have to worry about an Observer, as there's only 10 energy left on that Banshee. Now it's at about 5. And it looks like Duckload now moving in, trying to maybe dance around this expansion. And right as the Banshee runs out of energy, it gets double detected.
He actually has an Observer as well, so... I'm actually surprised that he didn't get that Banshee. I mean, there's one more shot with the Stalker and the thing would have been finished. But he's attacking the expansion right now, and once again, Goody trying to repair some of these units. But in the meantime, we have a 30 supply lead for Goody. So actually, he's on a lot more supply than his opponent, and Whitera losing all his units, losing those Immortals to the Marines, and the Stalker as well. And still, Whitera is on 2,000 minerals right now. 2,000 minerals and 600 gas.
That's very unusual for Whitera. I don't know if he's just not used to his own style, but I mean, he's trying to do a lot more harassment and have a lot more production than he's actually using. He's only just sort of waiting for good times to warp in sets of units and then only using those in an offensive. He's not really massing anything up.
And he could. I mean, he has enough energy on his Nexus to Chrono Boost. He has 100 at his expansion and 75 in his main base.
Ugh. Yeah, that's definitely way, way, way too high. And look at this, Duckload just warping in a couple of Zealots at a time when he could easily warp in a whole slew of them. Goody, on the other hand, having a lot of good focus, getting the big mech play up. Some
Armory, Ghost Academy as well.
Wow, he's getting the whole gamut of things. But the one thing, that really concerns me, Khaldor, click on these barracks. Look at the number of Marines queued up. Maximum spammage on those. Could easily be getting some more unit-producing structures if he canceled that.
Thing is that Goody right now only has this one expansion going, the one that is natural, and we have 3 mining bases for Whitera, so Goody really has to expand or to kill Whitera off with this next attack.
Does look like Whitera doing a lot of good expanding, a lot of good movement, setting up, but man, needs to begin putting guys back in those geysers. He's getting Colossus out right now, but again, he's a little bit low on the gas at all of his bases. Now warping in a whole bunch of Stalkers, and look at this, Goody now trying to move to the center of the map. He's going to have some deep regrets in just a moment. Doesn't look like Goody's even aware of the number of bases that Duckload has.
And Whitera just got 2 more Templars in the main base of Goody, but he couldn't do any damage as all of those SCVs already moved on to the expansion.
Those look like some storms going on, doing some great damage in the middle of the map. Goody trying to push up with those siege tanks, seeing that there are some units up there, now darting up with that interesting Marine Marauder Blue Flame Hellion mix. But now the Duckload does have that one Colossus there. He can begin to do some counter damage, but he needs to wait a few more seconds till that Thermal Lance finishes.
And he's lacking gas a little bit. He could just get 2 assimilators at his expansion on the left-hand side. He's just mining here as well with about 3, and he has 2 Dark Templars up right now, 3 Dark Templars. So he really, I mean, what do you think? He really should attack this expansion, because that's basically the only thing that keeps Goody in the game. If he's able to establish himself in this position, then he can still produce a couple of units. But if not for that expansion, he doesn't have any income after all those minerals are mined out of the at his natural.
And Duckload's done a great job of catching up on the food count. He was originally about 35 food behind, but now he is dead even, now getting more Colossi. We see those 2 Robo facilities just getting chrono boosted non-stop. Duckload even now getting
he's still on 1,000 minerals.
Force. Yeah, he just cannot keep his money under 1,000. That's actually kind of a cool testament to his capabilities as a Protoss. He just does not need to spend.
And that's pretty cool. He's not attacking the mech army of Goody. He's just moving to the expansion of his opponent. And that's actually really, really smart, because it will take ages until Goody arrives at the natural expansion.
Yeah, such a great play by Whitera. The tanks are immobile, so just attack where the tanks are not. Breaking into the back, now picking off this one siege tank. Sure, there's some missile turrets there, but not a big deal. The tanks try to siege around the outside lip, but Duckload
just moves
downwards, right in, and look at that vulnerable worker line.
And once again, Whitera is on 2,500 minerals. And it's just killing everything off, and there's a lot of mining time lost for Goody right now. Once again, Goody sieging up immediately from behind. The Colossus attacking the siege units and focusing with those Stalkers. Goody losing a lot of units, and now he's on 120 for supply and right.
And there's GG. A good game, and there were even Zealots moving into the center expansion in the middle of that attack. Whitera made that look so easy. He was at such a huge deficit and just sprints right in with so many units from the back and at the front. I mean, it's really cool to see how freeform he's playing, yet still how incredibly solid.
I was actually quite surprised. I mean, he had so many over minerals, and he just played down pretty calmly. It was actually quite.
Yeah.
It was quite nice.
Yeah, it was elegant.
Yeah, it was pretty elegant. Thanks for that. It was actually one of the words I was looking for.
I was into it.
So, it was pretty fast.
Yeah, it looks like White Raw's continuing his streak as being absolutely undefeatable in all matchups, no matter what. I mean, really pioneering good ways to play this mass Void Ray Colossus style against Zerg, and now really showing the utility of the Warp Prism and the Immortals and the Templar, some frequently underused units in those opening stages. So, very cool to see him be.
What do you think Goody should have done differently? Expand a little bit earlier? Especially second expand. I mean, it was really, really late. White Raw had already 4 bases up, so
yeah,
and his income just skyrocketed. I mean, at some point, Goody had about 2,500 income per minute, so he basically saved up all those energy for those mules, but he only had his mineral patch at the natural left, so expand a little bit earlier, get a planetary fortress for instance.
Yeah, you know, the planetary fortress at the third might have been a little stronger, and also getting it earlier, but you know, that's one of those games where on paper, I mean, Goody's strategy was just remarkable. Like the timing of the tanks and the Banshees with the Marines with Stim, like just putting everything in bunkers to put pressure on White Raw's expansion, that should work like 95% of the time. 95% of the time, Goody gets his expansion up, but he's already won the game. So I think Goody was really taken aback by how aggressively White Raw was continuing to drop all of those units into his main. So I think that Goody needed to have a little bit stronger crisis management during that time, and I'm not quite sure how much I agree with the ultra-static, you know, Lotso tanks and just sort of sitting passively for that long. The Blue Flame Hellion Marine Marauder mix. He was just trying to do a little bit too much in terms of his composition. Maybe if he'd stayed more focused and just gone, you know, Marine Marauder tank, or just gone tank Blue Flame, or just gone Marine Marauder Medevac, I think he would have had a little bit more success.
At one point, you could actually see that Goody there were too many places on the map where you had to be that he actually couldn't really focus, because when those 2 Banshees died, you remember that when he was attacking the natural of his opponent, and the White Raw was dropping in his main base, and he just couldn't, he just didn't realize that those Banshees were being attacked as well. And as you said earlier, those Banshees was so important just to keep him in place. And after he lost those, then the only thing that Goody could do was drop a couple of Marines on the other side of the cliff.
You know, it's kind of funny because when you do a strategy like what Goody did, you get used to winning there. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. That like there's probably a point where Goody was like, I'm still in the game. Something's weird. That's not the way that this is supposed to happen. I mean, that's a pretty incredibly solid timing push that Goody did that abuses that terrain so well. And I think he just hasn't had enough practice with being still in the game at that point. You know, like the Banshees, well, I'm not supposed to pay attention to Banshees at this point because I'm supposed to have been given 20 points on my ladder account already. And I mean, that's always one of those real hallmarks of like super ultra strong players, is that like under pressure they don't make any of those silly mistakes like losing track of things. They still remember what their overall goals are and make sure to satisfy them.
Okay, so basically we have 20 to 7 o'clock right now. You mentioned earlier that you are a little bit tired. How do you feel? You're going to stay with us for the next game, or
is it going to be in 20 minutes?
Definitely.
Can we accelerate that?
We are trying at the moment, but if you'll stay with us, then I'll just ask everybody to ask a couple of questions in the stream, because when I have you here, then I'll definitely harass you with a couple of questions.
Let's do it.
Okay, awesome.
Harass me.
So basically, all the guys on Team Liquid who have no idea where to find the live chat, you can ask questions in the forum thread on Team Liquid that you want Day9 to answer, and all the mostly German viewers who know where the live chat is can actually ask the question in live chat. Could I ask you for one of the energy drinks?
Yeah. Oh, looks like we're having a wonderful apple cider. It's going to be getting passed around.
And you managed once again. You're pretty good with that.
How is this possible? How do I continually?
Oh, you're actually on low batteries.
I'm on low batteries. Yeah. Here is your wonderful festive energy drinks.
Actually, nobody hears what you're saying at the moment, so I have to talk, even though I have to sneak in the other room to get you a couple of batteries. Shouldn't be a problem. So, oh, where's the light gone? Okay. Looking good. Okay, here we go. Yes. So, 1, 2.
Oh,
I actually checked that before we started the stream.
Dude, I go through batteries fast. I was talking so much.
You're using up a lot of energy.
I know, seriously. I don't need that energy drink, man. That energy drink needs me to just stay focused.